for the holidays?
Thank you. I believe that road safety is of all of us, not NTSA, not police. It is all of us, and particularly this time of festive season, every person must be very careful. Make sure that even if you are traveling, make sure you know the driver who is driving you home. Make sure you know even the registration of the vehicle. Just in case of any misbehavior, you can even call and identify the vehicle's registration. And let me say that road safety is about all of us. Unless you help us, we cannot help you, because you are the one on that road. You are the one on that vehicle. You are the one to make sure that your life is so important. You pay for this vehicle. Please don't let somebody go and kill you. Talk. Make sure that you'd rather get out of that vehicle, you'd rather be late, get where you are going, but make sure that you are there safe. You are not sick, or we don't get you in the mortuary or in hospitals. So make sure you talk. Make sure you are not just carried like cabbage, as the president said. It is you to say, I'm not a cabbage. It is not these people to talk for you and behave the way they want, and you are in this vehicle and you just let them behave the way they want. Because when that accident occurs, it is you who is going to suffer.
Yeah, we have a problem with that, Nakia. For being, great storytellers, we don't speak up for ourselves too much. Why is that? Why do we let, let's use the cabbage example. Why are we writing in, matatus like cabbage?
Yeah, it would be very hard for me to because I'm not Kenyan, it would be very hard for me to answer that question, so I'd like to pass it to David.
Sure,
to answer that question.
Why is that?
Let me say, and you have realized every accident, when it occurs, you will hear the passenger saying, this driver was behaving this way, but it is when
speak up.
The accident occurs. You are the people in the vehicle. Just Zusha, say we are not going like that. You are driving us badly, and you are going to kill us, because this guy will kill you and the game is over. So what we are saying, that road safety is about you, is about me, and any other person. And there is no way we will be able to reach you, because we are not everywhere on the road. NTSA is not everywhere on the road. Police are not everywhere on the road. But you, and particularly I want to talk of the drivers. If you know for sure that you are carrying passengers, make sure you follow the traffic rules. They are very simple, and sometimes those simple mistakes we do in a fraction of a second cause a lot of damage, and you will lose so many lives because of a very silly mistake. Maybe just stopping, waiting for the other vehicle to go,
a little courtesy on the road.
Just make sure, because like last time I realized we had a problem, because when we caught these drivers drunk, they will tell you, this one I drank yesterday night. If you know you are carrying passengers, just stop drinking and driving, because you will kill other people.
They tell you he's here, Leo.
Yeah, he's here, Leo Niajana. And don't forget, you are carrying people who want to go and celebrate with their families, and you kill them. You cause that accident just because of that pombe you are telling us, see a Leo Niajana. If you know Niajana, please don't drive. Don't drive and drive, please, because we have seen drinking and driving is not only in the personal vehicles. Even the PSV drivers, they are drinking and driving, and we must give value to life, because when you lose that life, there is no way you will ever get it. The 70 people we have lost during that week, we will never get them back. So it is to make sure that we avoid such things, and as a driver you can avoid. That's one thing, may I believe, that accidents don't just occur. Vehicles don't cause accident. Roads don't just cause accident. It is you, driver, who is driving that vehicle. Knowing very well that, yes, we have a problem with our road designs, because a place like Chachangwani, even without doing that at the dual carriage, even if they could have done the sideway, we call them trappers, they are there in other countries, whereby if a driver realizes that this truck of mine, the brakes have gone, there is somewhere where you can drive and reduce the speed of that vehicle instead of hitting, knocking people's vehicle. And also another thing where we want NTSA to be very careful is about our driving schools. We don't have drivers on our road, but we have killers on our roads. Because how do we get these licenses? Somebody will just bring that license to your door. You have not trained well to be on that road. So why, if you give that person a license just to drive, knowing very well that the dangers which are on our roads, surely that is a killer driver, because he knows no rules on the road, he knows nothing, he don't know how to drive, he don't know how, if for instance I have a tire burst, what am I supposed to do? And particularly the PSV vehicles, drivers must go for defensive driving so that they learn how they can save their passengers when something occurs. But not any driver you give your vehicle, and particularly this season, because like last time we saw the vehicle which caused an accident in Mombasa Road, the driver, the SACCO could not get the driver because the driver was drunk. So they just got anybody just to take these people, and he caused an accident. So let's be our brother's keeper. Know that when I'm driving that vehicle, I can kill somebody else, I can cause a damage, and this damage, people don't know about this damage, the road accident damage. What happens? Like now when we talk of the 70 people who perished on our roads just this weekend, do you know how many families are going to suffer? There are children who will never go to school because of just those accidents which happened. We are just talking of those people who died in number, but you are not counting the number of people who are going to suffer.
That's so true. The net result of this loss of life, and we'll have a very real show of that very shortly. John Wanyama is standing by for us. He's in Eldoret and at a hospital that has been dealing with the victims of these accidents. John, what can you tell us?
Again, Anne, good morning. Where I'm standing now at Moi Teaching Referral Hospital, Ward 5. This is one of the wards I've been telling you that it has been dedicated for those patients who have been involved in various accidents. And there are two special wards only for motorcyclists who normally come here after those accidents. And really, Lillian, from this ward, you can see that it's full to the capacity, and most the bed is supposed to be maybe having one person per bed, but you will realize that they are sharing bed, at least two of them. Some of patients here, and that is that they are even now, they don't have their arms, they don't have their legs due to this road carnage. If I can talk briefly to Dr. Abere, maybe Dr. Nyabere, sorry, Nyabera. Daktari, if you can tell us briefly, how is the situation and why are these patients maybe sharing the bed, and if they are all from accidents?
Yeah, the situation is quite critical. Most of the patients here are male patients in Ward 5, and the patients share beds 2 per bed. Right now we have 75 patients against a bed capacity of 36. And the hospital has made sure that most of these patients get care immediately they come in. We have what we call a 24-hour trauma theater, so that when the patients come to casualty, those ones who are critical, they are taken straight away to theater before they come to the ward.
How is the situation of accidents now?
The situation of accidents has increased because of increase in the number of motorbikes. And I think that the only way we can reduce the motorbike accident is to increase public awareness, and also to educate the drivers so that they know traffic rules, so that we can avoid many of these accidents.
Okay, Daktari, and maybe you have dedicated 2 wards special for these patients. How many are they now, and what's the number that you are supposed to have? If they are now sharing the bed, it means that there are many than what you require.
60% of the patients in the wards are from motorbike accident. Others are from car accidents, from domestic accidents, falling from heights at home. But 60% of the patients are motorbike accident.
Thank you very much, Daktari. And if I can talk to one of the victims here who is lying in bed here, what is your name? Na hii ajali uliipata lini?
Okay, thank you. My name is Laban Tanui. Nilipata hii ajali on Saturday evening, involving a lorry and a motorbike. It was in a sharp corner that I hit a lorry, and then I had to fly. And then I got a compound fracture on my right leg. But successfully I was nailed. I have something like a metal that was put inside my leg. So I'm supposed to be released today. So that is it.
Now, how do you feel now that you are sleeping here? You are a breadwinner at your home. How do you think you have really put your family behind?
Yes, very much, because this is a season that families require women to normally bring food for them, and we are talking about Christmas. Our children must wear. I have 2 boys, so they are waiting for me. In fact, they were disturbed the whole night from Saturday. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Anne. And as you can look at their leg, his leg, Anne, is that he's really suffering. He's not alone. We have the other young man here also suffering from the same. And you will realize that from this ward, and most people who are suffering, maybe is because of their limb, their leg, or their hand. Some of them, their legs have been chopped off, and some hands also chopped off. So it's really a terrible situation, especially when you walk into hospitals. Is when you will realize, Anne, that Kenyans are really suffering, and most of them may never even walk or may never use their hands again, or even go back to their cars to drive or use the same motorbike. So the question here, Anne, the question that many people are asking is that our motorcyclists, are they being given enough education before they go to the motorbike and ride or carry passengers? And what are we doing this festival season? Because most Kenyans are only left with the prayers from heaven, maybe God, to protect them so that they can arrive at their different destination safe and sound. Anne?
Nyama, you're right, and that's the consensus of my panel, that not enough is being done in terms of enforcement, especially for motorcyclists, etc. Let's talk about the border operators just for a little bit, because you're saying 60% of the accident victims there are from border related accidents, and it's and it just sounds strange to say it, but borders is a hot button political issue.
Sure.
All right. Yeah. Many of these cyclists are used for political causes in other things, and so they do tend to have a network and be well connected, and to be if you like, grassroots pillars, in various communities. So when it comes to dealing with them, it becomes a political issue. So it just gets us back to the issue of leadership in this area. You have the transport cabinet secretary, and he may want to take action on this, but there will be interest. There'll be issues. We've seen, take for instance, the Nairobi governor trying to regulate how matatus operate in the capital. He beat a hasty retreat, I think, about a week. Late, if it was not less than that, and yet he is possibly the politician who you would say speaks the language of the people. Like this should be his guys who would understand what's going on, but he can't take action. How do we deal with this?
He cannot take any action, because these are people who are used by these politicians in many ways, and their connection, as you are saying, are impossible. So for you to deal with them, you need to be very careful, because you can even lose your job when you're dealing with these people. But what we are saying is this: these politicians or anybody who use these people, do they really go to these hospitals and realize that we have, in every hospital, we have about 2 wards of border riders? Like now we are saying in the fatality in this year only, 80% of the accidents which have occurred in this country, deaths, are the borders.
Wow.
Of these accidents. Now, when we have, something must be done, and this is why I said from the word go that we have, and I was trying to give an example of Matiang'i in education. What has he done? He has made education something everybody is proud of. The legacy of our president, when to come to education, will be left there, but it is now for the president to know that his legacy must be there. He must give people who are responsible these CSS jobs and the PS jobs, not people who just sit to be in offices. But if you can get the right people, because what magic did Michuki do? when he came. What magic did he do that this CS who is in the office cannot do the same magic? It is very clear. You have workshop with these border riders. You train them, because there is no way we can get out of the border business. It is there with us to stay. So it is to have workshop with these people. It is to train these people. It is to make sure that they are properly licensed. It is to make sure that they follow the law the right way. It is to make sure that we provide good provision for their business, that they have not using the same road. We must separate, as I said from the word go. We must separate the motor vehicles and the borders. And the day we will separate this, because it happened in Sweden and they succeeded, the day we shall separate our borders and our motor vehicles, you realize that we are going to save so many of them. But now we are losing so many, and they are Kenyans. And as you heard that gentleman saying that he has 2 kids, these 2 kids, he must buy clothes for the kids. He must provide for the family. He has no any other alternative. He has to be on that road, and it is a risky road. It is a risky business. So instead of bringing politics in our border, so that they can, when you want your message to go where you want to the people, you use this border. Can you please train them? Let them be properly trained. Let them be taught properly how to use our roads. Let them follow the traffic rules. Let them know, because for God's sake, realize that these are our brothers, and most of them, they are the ones who drop out, that number. They are the ones who drop out of school, and after dropping, they have nothing else to do, because we don't have jobs in this country. So the easiest is to buy that border and earn a living. Yeah. So it is the government to make sure that assist those people, those riders, right? And joining us on phone now is the chair of the Border Safety Association, Kevin Mubadi. Good morning, Kevin. I believe you've been able to listen in on our conversation so far. We have just heard one of our reporters in Eldoret at the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, where 60% of the patients there have been victims of border accidents. What's your comment? Kevin, good morning. Can you hear me? All right, we seem to be having a challenge with Kevin. We're going to get back to him.
Hello?
Oh, there you are, Kevin. Kevin, good morning.
Good morning, Anne.
Yes, and I was just saying that we've had one of our reporters in Eldoret at the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital tell us that 60% of the patients they have in these emergency wards to deal with accidents actually come from, border related accidents. Could you comment on that?
Yeah, it's true. The border accidents on a rise, but what we are doing as an organization, this is a national body which we formed to make sure that we address the issues that are affecting the border operators. That is involving the accident and about the road safety awareness campaign, and at least bring them closer to the government so that we can have a structured way of communication between the government and the riders. As you know, for a very long time, the border industry has never had a structured way of communication between the government and the riders, how they can get the information. So we have tried to lay down the procedures. We have connected the whole country, where our national board committee is made up of 47 county chairpersons. So we are doing a lot of sensitization programs to make sure that we reduce the road accident, and we have been working with the NTSA, although partly they are not that much supportive, but we request that now that we have a structured body that can be able to look into the issues affecting the riders, we can be able to train. The most important thing is to train these people about road safety, about the license, the importance of having a license, So I remember when I was in Western, the same area, I was in Kitale, and I found a border rider carrying 7 people on the motorbike. And when I asked him, do you know that it is an offense to carry people more than 2 people on one motorbike? And he said he didn't know. So I even took some photos of the guy, and he really pleaded that he didn't know that it is an offense. So these people need a lot of sensitization. And that person, we rescued him because I saw him when the trailer was passing it. He was almost knocked by the trailer. So you imagine those who are around 7 people who are going to die, around 8 people who are going to die. But they need a lot of sensitization, and that's what we are trying to do, to make sure that at least we train these people on road safety issues.
Kevin, I appreciate that, but let's just talk about those who are already on our roads, ferrying, everyday Kenyans. Do you know the numbers? Does the association have any way of telling who has been properly trained to, to operate this border, and that they have proper licensing for that?
Okay, currently the number of border in the country, we are looking at over 800,000. Those are the people on the motorbike on our roads. So the system, we have developed a system whereby it gives even the government the real-time data about any border that's passing on the road. And we will be launching the formal registration on the system on 25th of January. But currently, the system will give you the data of the border, the county, sub-county, location, sub-location up to the stage, and it will give you if he has a license or not. And you can also check if the license is valid or not. And the system can also give you if the motorbike is insured or not, and if the insurance is valid or not. So it will be able to give the real-time data on the riders and any information if they are trained or not. And if you are not trained, we are encouraging them to go to the driving school and get trained so that they can have valid licenses.
But, 800,000 and not being sure as to how many of these actually have proper training is frightening.
Yeah, the number of people who have proper training on this 800,000, we are talking about proper training is around 25%, to be honest, because when you go to the village, to the other areas outside town, people don't have driving licenses. Because I've been moving around the country, have been doing sensitization programs. You go in a forum, you find like 400 riders, you talk to them, you ask them if there's anyone with the license, and you find maybe 20. So the others don't have the motorbike licenses. Others have the vehicle licenses. They have BCE, and as a rider, you must have an FT.
Right.
So that one brings a challenge. So that's why we are trying to make sure that these people go back to school. They are trained on how to ride a motorbike so that their driving license can be stamped with an FG class.
But in the meantime,
roughly
Kevin,
25% they are genuinely valid, but the rest, no, they are not.
All right, Kevin, but in the meantime, more Kenyans continue to lose limbs, life, courtesy of untrained, and I'm not trying to say that the entire road safety issue is a border issue, but we're saying at least 60% of it seems to be. So in the meantime, while the association, gets on its feet, Kenyans continue to lose lives. Is this not cause, if only 20% of 800,000 are properly trained, is this not cause enough for the government to step in and say, until this sector is properly regulated, no more borders on our roads?
You see, and we cannot stop the border operators because these people, they are also looking for an income. They have families, they have to feed, they have to go to hospital, they have to bills to pay. You see, so you cannot just wake up one day and say, okay, now let's stop. I think the best thing the government can do is come so that we can personally let it come out clearly, say, okay, you guys, you already now have an organization that can be able to streamline your industry. You work together and make sure that maybe you are registered, make sure you have the required documents, because as an organization, we also have our laid down requirements that we need for you to be a member. You see, you must have a license. If you don't have a license, you must go for the training before you come and get the license. I think this is the only way the government now can be rescued from all these menace, to make sure that anybody who is on the road is well known, he has a license, the license is valid. You see, so but when you say you want to wipe out all the borders that are not trained, you can imagine the backlog that will be on the government, those searching for jobs. And you see many of them are now graduates. We have people who have degrees in the border industry, but there's no jobs at all. So when you stop him, you can imagine even that accident, when one accident happens and the border is in the hospital or he dies, the family suffers a lot because others have loans, they bought those motorbikes on loans. They have to repay daily, and which they do pay daily, the minimum of 300 shillings. So if you fail to pay maybe for 1 week, the motorbike is taken away, or the whatever that you had put there as a security, it will be taken away. So the government cannot stop, but it is for the government, the partners, and people to come on board and now address the issues of border in a straightforward way, so that we don't shy away from this industry. Let's embrace it. Let's the border first of all realize, okay, we have people, we have the government now, and believing in us, So, you know, when you appreciate that somebody is there, they will also appreciate that you are there, and they'll be able to change. But currently, the general public don't appreciate the borders. They just appreciate them when they have a problem. Like a motorist, when a motorist passes you, he'll show you any type of, let's say, madarau. But when he has a problem, that's when he realizes, oh, I need a border. Maybe the car has stopped. It doesn't have fuel. You send a border to go and help you get the fuel to where you are. So let's first of all give respect in both sides. Let the motorists also respect the riders. Let the government respect the riders. Let the police, because you can find other accidents happen where a police wants just to arrest the rider, and the rider has all the requirements, but the police just arrest. So there's this animosity between the police and the riders. But when we come out and the police say, okay, now let's understand each other, let's work together and see how we can be able to rescue this industry, it will work, because they also feel appreciated, you know. Even you, and when somebody appreciates that you are there, you'll also recognize the same person. But if somebody doesn't recognize you, you will not recognize him. You see.
I hear you, Kevin. I beg your pardon. I mean, I hear you, and definitely, you know, the loss of, you know, or rather the inability to find other work has also pushed, as you've said, graduates into this sort of work. It's also a more convenient and I suppose an inexpensive way of commuting, so works for many Kenyans. So I do hear you on that. I suppose I'm just saying that it's not just the lives of the passengers that are at stake, it's the lives of the riders as well. They too would be, you know, the damage. But finally, before we let you go, you've talked about, you know, the respect on the roads, you know, other motorists equally respecting borders on the roads, you know, and you know, just that courtesy that should be there for safety on the roads. A lot of most of my panelists this morning have talked about, you know, having a separate lane for you know, borders, etc. Do you think that would help?
Yeah, that will help. In fact, in the beginning of this year, I suggested, I had that proposal, the means of transport, where I told them, okay, you see, it is very, very important to have a separate lane. Where the new roads that are being constructed, let us have a new lane for the borders. This is where the vehicle will never meet the motorbike, and the accident rate with the vehicles will be, I think it will be to zero, because there's no way the motorbike will meet a vehicle. You see, so when we have our own separate lanes, and it is just a small lane, border doesn't require a very big lane, just a small lane, to make sure that, okay, and even a border rider will not go to the main lane if he knows that he has his own lane that he is safe on, you see. So it is very important when we have our own lane, which I had already talked to the Ministry of Transport, and they said, okay, it is a good idea, we can do that. We can ensure that the new roads that come up have the motorbike lanes. And they told me that when the transport sector started in Kenya, they never knew that there can be a border. So the roads that were being constructed by that time were meant for the vehicles only. But now we have the border, so they need to restructure on the issue of constructing the road. And that is the idea that I gave them, because I studied this. I looked at Germany, I looked at other countries outside there that have the motorcycles, and they have zero or a very little percentage in accidents. And you can find that most of the countries have the lanes for the bike. So when Kenya, when you adapt that, I can tell you, Anne, is 100% waiver for the border or motorbike accidents with the vehicles.
Right. Kevin, thanks so much for speaking to us this morning. Kevin Buddy, who is the chair of the Border Safety Association. Final comments from you, Nakia?
I think, you know, as I said before, instituting strong policy, thinking about the whole ecosystem of the roads, pedestrians, motorcyclists, matatus, and cars, building roads that will equip safety or support safety. Enforcement is important. I think all of these things working together will really make a difference in saving people's lives and make a difference in the way that people travel, particularly during the holidays in Kenya.
David?
Mine is it is sad to hear about 800,000 Kenyans are on our roads, and the risk, and any time an accident occurs, even at this minute, somebody is going to die, somebody is going to be injured. I think it is sad. It's something the government now should come in here, and if there is any other place the government should work is about this area. They should help these people. As you understand, yes, we don't have jobs in our country, but also even we are looking to these jobs. It is seriously very risk to put our Kenyans in such a risk. So it is the work of the government. Here, we want our government because they have to protect the lives of Kenyans and protect their properties. Now we need our government because it's already too late, but we can do some changes because before this boda came, there are those people who slept on their job, and this is why I'm saying, and I keep on repeating, if our president want to leave a good legacy, have very good people who are working with you. Don't just give CSs to people who just go and sit, like a very good example of what we have now in the Ministry of Transport. There is nothing happening, and they are doing nothing apart from getting salaries and whatever they are doing. And I can say that because for sure, like now, that is a problem which can be addressed. And the Boda as they have formed an association, and they have already written to the ministry. What is the ministry doing?
But I suppose you know, Kevin Buddy there, the chair, you know, has a point when he says, you know, you don't just and to use a colloquialism, don't just show Boda's Madharau and be like, you're a Boda association, you know, we don't have to pay attention to you. These are 800,000 riders formally, exactly, and Kenyans formally engage them. Yeah, if this is going to end. I thank you both so much for your time this morning with us on Citizen Extra. Nakia White, she's a crisis communications expert, and David Kiarie, who's the chair of the Road Safety Association. It's been a pleasure. Okay, we're taking you now to Mombasa, where we're listening in to the Regional Maritime Workshop that's underway.
Facilitate and boost the implementation of the global energy efficiency regulations for international shipping in the region and support the relevant authorities to develop domestic policies in line with international regulation. I'm hopeful and confident that this center will become a center of excellence, thanks also to the work of GQIT, and that climate mitigation technology and expertise for shipping will develop thanks to this center. I wish you a swift start of your work, and I hope you fulfill the capacity building in your countries with the aim of reducing emissions from the maritime shipping sector and helping the global community reach the Paris Agreement that we have all signed for. I want to thank you all, and I hope I'll get out of Mombasa without the flu, because I came with the flu. I hope I don't spread it here. As I said, it's always a pleasure to be in this wonderful city, one of the biggest harbors in the world and in Africa, and a country, Kenya, which leads Africa in terms of climate change policies. So it's all good and positive, and I hope these positive vibes comes into your work and your seminar the next 2 days. I wish you a happy new year as well.
Thank you very much. So it's now my honor to invite the PS, State Department of Maritime and Shipping, Madam Nancy Karigudu, to address the participants. Let's appreciate her.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Okay. Mr. John Kilonzi, Director of Peace and Security, representing my colleague, Principal Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Monica Juma, who was until last night expected to be here with us. Mr. Bruno Ponzi, Deputy Head of the European Union Delegation to Kenya. I've just been discussing with my colleagues. You know, I'm sitting among professors, and I've been told that if I manage to pronounce all the names properly, I will walk out of here with a professorship. So I'm going to work very hard. Yes, Dr. Stefan Mikeler, Director of the Marine Environment Division at the International Maritime Organization. We also have Professor Feng Zhu from the MTCC Asia. Professor Paul Kanyari, Chairman of the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology University Council, alongside members of the University Council present. Professor Mabel Ibuga, the Vice Chancellor, JQAT. Madam Adraya Dena, Corporation Secretary, and representing the Managing Director, Kenya Ports Authority, Madam Catherine Wairi. Mr. Cosmas Cherop, the Acting Director General, Kenya Maritime Authority. Dr. Pacifica Ogola, Director, Climate Change Programs, Coordination Directorate. Representatives of other government agencies like NEMA, National Environment Management Authority, Kenya Meteorological Department, then CEOs of shipping lines, agencies, also my colleagues from MOT, members of the fourth estate, distinguished delegates from our other core nations. You've heard that we have no less than 13 African partners represented here today. A very good morning to all of you, and welcome to this first regional workshop on the MTCC Africa and the launch of the MTCC Africa. Please allow me at the outset to bring you a message of very sincere apologies from my Cabinet Secretary, who was all set to be part of this auspicious occasion today, but who, due to last-minute state engagement, was not able to travel. As you remember, we've just come from a very intense electioneering period, and we feel that government feels we've wasted a lot of time, so there is a rush to do so many things at the same time. So that's the reason that he couldn't be here with us today. But he, however, sends his very warm greetings and best wishes to all of you for this event, and in particular to the foreign delegates, a very warm welcome. Karibuni. Let me therefore, on his behalf and also on behalf of the government of Kenya, express my sincere delight to have each and every one of you here today on this very important event, not just for Kenya, but for the entire African continent and the global maritime community. This is because today marks the official launch of the Maritime Technology Cooperation Center, MTCC Africa, and also marks the first regional workshop aimed at capacity building towards the mitigation of the effects of climate change in the region. MTCC Africa, as you have heard repeatedly, is one of 5 global maritime technology cooperation centers under the banner of the Global MTCC Network Project. I take note of the high-level representation of various African governments and other intergovernmental agencies, and let me also welcome you to our beautiful country, Kenya, and we hope that in the midst of the workshop, you will find time, like my sister VC has said, to sample the delights that Kenya, and particularly Mombasa, has to offer. We also welcome and appreciate your commitment towards this very important journey as we chart our common destiny on the road towards sustainable exploitation of the African blue economy as espoused in the UN Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development. As the host to the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, and the United Nations Human Settlements Programme, that is UN Habitat, Kenya is committed to the principles of sustainable development alongside environmental protection, that is development not in isolation of environmental protection, as clearly enunciated in the Rio Declaration on Environment and Development. Indeed, only last week, between the 3rd and 6th of December 2017, Kenya hosted the third session of the United Nations Environment Assembly in Nairobi that brought together the world's ministers of environment under the banner towards a pollution-free planet. Indeed, as an output of that meeting was a ministerial declaration through which the ministers renewed their commitments towards a pollution-free planet for health and well-being of citizens and the environment. The ministers also reaffirmed commitment to, among other things, accelerate the implementation of and promote cooperation among existing multilateral agreements, conventions, regulations, and programs in order to prevent, control, and reduce pollution. Against such commitments and renewed, re-energized commitment, the MTCC Africa and the GMN are ideas whose time has really come, and we are very proud and committed to do our best towards a pollution-free planet. And to bring matters into context, the ratification and implementation by states of the International Convention for Prevention of Pollution from Ships, that is MAPOL Annex 6, which addresses itself to the regulation of emission of greenhouse gases from ships, reflects the contributions towards a pollution-free planet. And it also reflects the IMO's global leadership in setting standards for the safety, security, and environmental performance of international shipping. Kenya is proud to have been one of the early IMO member states to ratify MAPOL Annex 6, and we are fully committed to seeing a wide ratification and implementation of the instrument as possible, particularly in the region. And that is why we believe, therefore, that MTCC Africa programs and activities will go a long way in building the necessary capacity towards the implementation of MAPOL Annex 6, not just in our country, but most importantly in the wider African region. On behalf of the Government of Kenya and the African region, I wish to express sincere gratitude to the European Union for providing the much needed financial support in establishing MTCC Africa. Indeed, I'm glad that Mr. Bruno Ponzi reminded me a few minutes ago of how last year, a year ago, I walked into their offices to seek more support for the wider maritime sector and not just the ports. And the discussion we had that day focused on the software, really, as opposed to the hardware that drives the maritime sector. And I'm glad that this is one of those ideas that we discussed. Indeed, without that support, we would not be here today. And we reiterate our commitment to do all we can, all that it takes to ensure that this project delivers the anticipated outcomes and continues to be the center of excellence beyond the seed money now and into the future for the mitigation of effects of climate change from the marine environment. Allow me also to express our sincere thanks to the International Maritime Organization, the IMO, for setting the springboard without which this project could not have been initiated or indeed implemented. We are also grateful that the IMO has worked tirelessly to provide generous technical support towards the implementation of this project. Kindly convey our sincere thanks to the Secretary General and the staff of the project implementation unit. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, the concerns of global climate change continue to draw a lot of attention all over the world. Indeed, during the 2017 UN Oceans Conference on the implementation of Sustainable Development Goals, particularly SDG 14, namely to conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development, that was held in New York earlier this year. Concerns were raised on the negative impact of climate change on the oceans, including the rise in ocean temperatures, ocean and coastal acidification, deoxygenation, sea level rise, the decrease in polar ice coverage, coastal erosion, and extreme weather events. Similarly, the contribution of the shipping industry to climate change has recently elicited intense discussions at the IMO, and specifically during the key discussions at the recent Marine Environment Protection Committee, MEPC 69, which centered on a possible emission reduction target for international shipping in line with the Paris agreements, well below 2 degrees global warming, and future work to further reduce greenhouse gas emissions, all of which led to the creation of a working group on the issues to be held at the upcoming MEPC 70. While shipping and aviation industry were not covered by the initial global greenhouse gas emission reduction commitments, they contribute significantly in those emissions. And today we gather here to mark the start of the African journey towards the fight against climate change as a result of emission from ships, so as to make a fair and just contribution to the fight against climate change and also attain the target objectives of the Paris Agreement. The GMN network therefore comes at an opportune time when nations are grappling with the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goal 14. The GMN initiative also fits very well with the Paris Agreement under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, which entered into force on 4th November 2016. This agreement provides a new global framework to address climate change with a global goal to hold temperature increase below 2 degrees. MTCC Africa is here to provide the means for Africa through capacity building to make meaningful contribution towards climate change agenda through implementing measures that promote ship energy efficiency technologies and operations, and the reduction of harmful emission from shipping. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates, Kenya is truly honored to host the MTCC Africa on behalf of the African region. The overall objective of this project is to help developing countries, especially the least developed countries and the small island developing states, to limit and reduce greenhouse gas emissions from their shipping sectors through technical assistance and capacity building. In regard to MTCC Africa, the project is also committed to encourage the uptake of innovative energy efficiency technologies among a large number of users through the widespread dissemination of technical information and know-how. As MTCC Africa, we have already developed a strategy to reach out to the wider African continent through working with a network of national focal points in selected regional partner states who will carry out carefully selected MTCC Africa activities in their respective sub-regions. Indeed, MTCC Africa has committed to deliver 2 pilot projects during the course of the next 3 years, and they are expected to make significant contributions to ensure effective implementation and enforcement of the global energy efficiency regulations for international shipping. You've already been told about the projects, which are, one of them is on fuel consumption and emissions data collections and reporting in line with IMO regulations, as well as the implementation of a demonstration pilot project on uptake of ship energy efficient technologies and operations. On behalf of the government, let me express sincere appreciation to MTCC Africa Consortium, that is the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, the Kenya Maritime Authority, and the Kenya Ports Authority for their contribution towards implementation of these projects and milestones so far achieved towards the project objectives. And not forgetting other government agencies, that is NEMA, the Kenya Meteorological Department, the Ministry of Transport, just to mention a few. I also wish to express sincere thanks to the focal point countries of Madagascar, South Africa, Djibouti, Sudan, Namibia, and Nigeria for demonstrated commitment to work jointly with us towards a pollution-free Africa maritime domain. Indeed, your collaboration in this endeavor is highly appreciated as we work together to attain our common goals for the benefit of not just all of Africa, but the wider global maritime countries. We look forward to continue working together with the wider African continent states to attain our ideals and goals. And in line with the African adage, if you want to go fast, you go alone, you walk alone. But if you want to go far, you walk together. And we believe that we shall indeed go very far as long as we work together. We also note the launch last week of the Global Maritime Network, again in line with the adage that the oceans bring otherwise distant nations to become neighbors. And we believe that working together with the regions of the Pacific, the Caribbean, and the Latin America, Asia, we shall all contribute towards a planet-free, a pollution-free planet in terms of deleterious effects to the marine environment through shipping. In conclusion, I wish to express Kenya government's support to the endeavors of the IMO towards reduction of emissions from shipping, and also express the desire that the costs thereof, which has been a major concern from both adaptation and mitigation, are borne in mind. This is primarily because for the same unit reduction in emissions within maritime business by a developed country, the corresponding impact in an emerging economy such as are found in Africa have been proved to be disproportionately much larger because of our position in technological advancement. And it is for this reason that Kenya welcomes the technological transfers as spearheaded by the IMO's MEPC, in particular through MEPC 22965 on promotion of technical cooperation and transfer of technology relating to improvement of energy efficiency of ships, which required the organization to provide technical assistance to member states. I once again wish to emphasize the government's commitment through the State Department to the success of the MTCC Africa and its objectives to become a regional center of excellence in providing the African region the necessary leadership in promoting ship energy efficiency technologies and operations, and also the reduction of harmful gas emissions from ships. I wish you all fruitful deliberations and hope that we shall use this workshop in order to share ideas and exchange information, because all of us are at different stages of development. I'm also delighted, and now it's my singular honor and pleasure to declare the MTCC Africa officially launched and also officially open the first MTCC Africa regional workshop, to declare it officially open. Thank you so much.